definitely have to start off with an icebreaker today. And the icebreaker, now this time for the room, I'm going to ask everyone to go to the rooms of your moon sign. And let me set it up. And so inside of these rooms, we have, and there again is the signs for anyone who don't have them yet. If you don't have the elements to the signs yet, I strongly urge you to get to it, because the elements of the signs are the suits. And when you go into the room, and this is why I made the comment that I made earlier, these are the cards for today. These have been the cards for today since several weeks ago. So it's amazing the way that energy works. It's truly amazing the way that energy works. And so when you're inside of these rooms, I ask for you to go over those, choose one or the other or both, but I also ask that everybody get an opportunity to touch the football. Not just get an opportunity, that everyone sees the opportunity to touch the football. And if I'm not clear on that, everybody take the opportunity to share. Whatever your portion is your portion, and you are definitely entitled to it. I read something before that says, communicated to the ignorant for their instruction, communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. And the bottom line being, communicate the information that you have. That's the only way that you either gonna grow in your information, or that you're gonna help somebody else to grow in their information. All right, and so we have all of the rooms assigned right now, and I ask for you again to pick the rooms with your with your moon sign, and I will be inside of each one of the rooms to see how everything is going. And
could you post our choices again, please? Oh, I can see. There we go. Yes, great. Thanks.
So fire is.
Are you talking to me?
Fire is Earth. Fire is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Earth is Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Air is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Rooms are now open. Well, welcome back, everyone. Initially, I thought that I was going to be able to skip over it, but then I realized that it would be unfair to all of you all to skip over it, because it's such a critical part inside of our system of tarot. And I have the utmost confidence in Zane that he put the pieces inside of the piece of where he wanted them to be at, and so I was going to try to kind of just bypass it a little bit, because it can be a complicated subject, but we have to deal with the science of numbers, the science of number vibrations. The reason why that's important is because first of all of the cards are represented by a number, and you have 22 major arcana, and those 22 major arcana are so for a reason. Inside of our system of and let's get this clear. We're not what you call numerology and other systems. We have numerology inside of the Church of Light, but we also have the science of number vibrations. Numerology is a tool of divination, just like tarot is a tool of divination, where the science of number vibration It's a specific science. What you are dealing with is you are dealing with thought tones, character vibrations, and astrology vibrations, astro vibrations. In these vibrations, what it tells us is that everything is represented by a tone. Everything has been placed in a segment that can be defined by a tone. Each one of these tones we have in our system of 22. The system of 22 is the 12 astrological signs and the 10 celestial bodies that we use that goes through those signs. And so when we look at our sheet and we look at our major arcana, that's why the synthesis of magic or the mantram of the wheel is so critical and so important, because it gives you the story. And someone told me this, someone explained a classic like this to me before. They said that a classic is something that continues to have meaning. That means that every time you look at it, you're gonna find something that you may have not seen the last time that you looked at it. Whether it's a week from then, whether it's 2 weeks from then, whether it's 2 years, 20 years, or 30 or 40 or however many years, you will continue to find something that you didn't see the first time that you had it. And that's how you know when you have a classic right there. And so it is with the mantram of the wheel or the synthesis of magic. You will start off with number 1, that's representative of the Magus or Mercury, and then you will move to the veiled Isis, which is Virgo, and then unveiled Isis, which is Libra, and then you going back to 2 planets. After that, you pretty much going 2 planets, 3 signs, 2 planets, 3 signs, till you get to the end. When you get to the end, you're ending up with 21 and 22, which is the sun, where you ending up with 20, 21, and 22, which is the actual moon, the sarcophagus, and then not the moon card. The moon card is number 18, but the sarcophagus number 20 is the moon itself, and the adapt number 21 is the sun. And above all of those, you see the symbol that's above the interlocking triangles that's representative of the Church of Light, which is Pluto. And this right here is can be either the materialist, or it can be your reaching one, returning to that union and finding your soulmate. That's Pluto. It could be 22, or it can be 0. And 0 is representative of a cipher or a spirit, right? So what does the numbers have to do with this? I mean, I got to pull this sheet up. We are in effect now. And I'm going to show you. And here's what's special about this right here. What's special about this particular one is it's the actual one that that I received when I actually went through the course. So just to give it to you briefly, I had that sheet, that cheat sheet that we was just talking about in one of the groups, that have all 78 positions of the cards and what they mean. I had that, and I had different tarot decks and all of that for maybe about 10 years before I even took my classes. So that was a system that, I went through a couple of other systems, but no more than for a few months or something like that. I needed something that had the astrology to it. And when I found that, I said, okay, let me ride with this. So I didn't even have the actual Sacred Tarot book. I just had that sheet. Once I got that book, I said, man, I should have been had this book. That sheet was driving me crazy. No, the sheet was okay, but once I had the book and started going through the courses, then the sheet made that much more sense. And so when I took the first course that I took was 10 years later, after I actually began the process of studying the tarot and using it and doing readings. The first one that I took was course 6. I was limited on resources at the time, and shoot, it took me a month to make $15, and so I had to use the money wisely and save up and do all kind of stuff to save up to get that book. But once I got it, I saw how pertinent that it was, because I saw that it was the sacred tarot is so much more than just flipping a card, and that's what makes it outstanding. It's so much more than just flipping a card. So one of the things that we have in the sacred tarot is now this table of correspondence. This table of correspondence is so awesome. The thing that makes this, like we discussed a couple of weeks ago, you can use this to determine a color. You can use this to determine the astrological correspondence or representative, the divinatory significance, the number, the Hebrew letter, the Hebrew characters, all of these different things. And you can use each one of these things by themselves, right? So what they did, what the Church of Light did for me, in when I first joined, they sent me a chart, that they did off of the computer, and I had been taking 2 hours to manually do charts and everything, and I was knocking down about 4 charts a day, and my brain was fried, but my math got good. I learned how to count. And so, but the thing with this is they wrote all of this out, and I'm like, okay, now what in the world do all of this stuff mean? That's my name on the left side, And so I'm like, what in the world do all of this mean? And how did they get it? I said, let me read the book. And then once I began to read it, I saw that it wasn't just one, it wasn't just two, it wasn't just three, but there were several chapters that dealt with numbers. Several chapters that dealt with how these numbers work, what kind of system they are. How do you distinguish the science of number vibration from from numerology? And numerology was something that was important to me, because before I began to be on the path of studying color magic, or be on the path of studying astrology consciously, because from the day that we learn our days of the week, we studying astrology. When we call in every day of the week out of a planet, we dealing with astrology. But before I began to learn astrology consciously, I was drawn to numerology and numbers. And I was dealing with all of these different systems and all of that. And so when I got to this, I was like, wait a minute, that's a little different from, the system that I memorized and that used all of the alphabets and all of that, and all of them was represented by their own individual number and stuff like this. But I said, okay, let me check it out. Let me see what they got. And so they did this one for me. It was my name, and how did they get the numbers? So my name is Aurelio. On this right here, A is right here. It's the English letter A. So what is the number value of A? The number values are all in this first column. The number value for A is 1. And you know what else is awesome about this? On each one of the major arcana, it gives you the alphabet with that number value, with that major arcana that represents it. These are thought tones. And so A is on the tone of number 1, which is the maggots. Mercury. What color is it? Violet. What metal is it? Quicksilver. What is its divinatory significance in short terms, dexterity, and will? Remember, Mercury rules the nervous system. If your nervous system is not working, then you have no dexterity. You cannot move around. If you have no dexterity, what is Mercury also called? Mercury is often called the messenger of the gods, because Mercury is responsible for the communication between yourself, between your brain and the signals that it sends to the rest of the body. It's servants, right? It was one part that says, I am progressing rapidly towards the subjugation of matter and the complete lordship over all submundane atoms of life, which exists only by my permission as useful and obedient service in the lower animal realms of my dominion. All of this goes together. So anyway, A has the number value of 1. Second letter of my name was U. So I look and see, where's you at? Where can I find you? Where can I find you? And at first it was driving me crazy because I couldn't find it. I said, well, let me look at the number by it. So I went to number 6 and looked at the English letter and found that number 6 represents actually 3 different letters. If I was looking for V, that's representative. It's on the same tone as 6. If I'm looking for U, that's on the same tone as 6. If I'm looking for W, that's on the same tone as 6, which is Va, which is representative of the 2 paths or Venus. And then number 20, R, it told us that was number 20. So we go down here to number 20 and we see R. And that's representative of the sarcophagus, which is ruled by the moon. What is the color for it? Green. What is the metal for it? Silver. What is its divinatory significance? Awakening or resurrection. Right? Okay, and so then I went down. The 4th letter of my name is E. Where do we find E? And here's the thing. Here's the thing that initially drove me a little crazy. Well, a little bit more crazy than I was, but it got me there. Is they wasn't all in order. They are in an order, but they aren't all in the order that you would think, because remember, we only have 22 of them, and they cover all of the letters in the English language. So some of them is the ones that's namely that you would be expecting, like you would be expecting to see C after B, but so you got to look at it. You got G there. But once you read course 3, and all of these go with the courses as well. Each one of the 22 major arcana, when you read the course that goes through that, you will see it. You will see it. You will see why those numbers go together like that. You will see it. All right, so so number 5 was E, the Hierophant. Then L, which is number 12, right here, which is the Martyr. And then you have I, which is number 10. And now notice about 10. And this is a way that may help you as well, because it's only a few of them. Matter of fact, let's forget only a few. We're going to be specific as possible. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have seven numbers that represents more than one letter. Just 7. 7 numbers, 7 out of 22. 7, that's deep. 7 numbers that represents more than just more than one letter. Right. and 10 is one of them. 10 is I, Y, and J. And then another one, since we're on that trail, is 11. 11 is C or K. But if you look at 9, 9 is TH, not T or H, but TH. So like if you have TH that's together inside of a name, then you wouldn't count that as T, which is 22, and H, which is number 8. You would count that as number 9 if you have TH together. Both of them get one number, which is going to be 9. And that's how it is. The same thing if you go down to 17. 17 is star. When you look at that, you see that you have F, you have P, and you have PH. So for instance, if what you was looking up was phone, PHONE, then the first 2 letters would be combined together to represent number 17. And then you have F, and then you have P. And the thing about those is you will see a system, because they are like PH makes an F sound, but it's a P. And then you have P there. And then you have number 18. Number 18 is the moon card, which is Cancer. It is representative of Cancer. It's emerald. It's the lighter color of green. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, it's the lighter color of green. Now, here's the thing. Learning the lighter colors and the darker colors, use the sheet, but a quick way to look at it is your masculine signs are usually going to be a lighter color, and your feminine signs are going to be a darker color. In other words, your air and your fire signs are going to be a lighter color most of the time, and your water and earth signs are going to be a darker color. For instance, number 13, the Reaper, that's a fire sign. That's Aries. Its color, light red. But Scorpio, which is a water sign, and feminine, its color is dark red. The planet that both of them have in common is Mars. Its color is just red. If that makes sense. All right, so we did, and the last letter of my first name was O. And O, you look at O, number 16, that represents O, right? What that represents, accidents or catastrophes. A lot of times you see that, or we call it the lightning. Some of them you'd be like, well, that's the top, The lightning. Mars energy to its fullest degree. And so if we're looking at, so what you would do after that is you would add all of these numbers together. And when you add all of these numbers together, you come up with 70. Now, here's the thing. And this is how you figure out a name. When you're dealing with the name, it's not the way that somebody say it. It's not if somebody be like, Aurelio, or Aurelio, or nothing like that. It's the thought behind it, because you are dealing with thought tones. And each one of these, and these thought tones are representative of these letters and these numbers that goes with them. And so the first name, Aurelio, that's 70. Can you stop there? Yeah, you can stop there. But if you're trying to find what the character vibration, what the astrological significance, what the color of your name is, then you're using your whole name. You can play with stuff like your nicknames and see how they kind of modify stuff and things of that nature, because if you add something to your name, or if you take something away from your name, and it becomes the predominant thought when you are in the mind of someone, or it becomes the predominant thought that's associated with you, then through the process of alchemy, it kind of alters that vibration. And by looking inside of your chart to see what the ultimate number is, then you can see how your name plays a part inside of your chart. What color does your name represent? What department of life does your name highlight inside of your chart? And so I used the middle name. You know what? They used the middle name, did the whole math on that like we just did, and came up with 55. Left that number there, came to the last name, added that up, and that came up to 91. What do we do with those numbers then? After those numbers, we take the first number from the first name, which is 70, and then we put the number from the second name, which is 55, and the number from the last name, which is 91, and you add all of those together and come up with 216. Here's the thing about numbers. Numbers exist in two different ways in our system. You have key numbers, which is 1 through 22 and representative of the entire major arcana. And then you have root numbers. The root numbers is number 1 through 9. And numbers 1 through 9 represent, these are your base numbers. Once you go beyond 9, you're adding a whole nother cipher to the wheel. Our system that we use, we call them decays. Why do we call them decays? The reason why we call them decays is the same reason why in music we call that once you go through all of the 7 notes and you get back to that first note again, you call that an octave, because now you went up, just like my voice did when I said octave, you went up again. And you starting the process over. We learned that when we study these cards, we learn that number 7 represents perfect form, but in the physical world. Number 9 represents completion and perfected form in the astral. You see? Number 4 is dealing with the physical, your 4 and your 3. Number 9 is dealing with the spiritual. And so that's the reason why that's the sage. That's the reason why that's your Aquarian energy, your water bearer energy. It is this completion that gives us wisdom and that gives us prudence. And so 1 through 9 plays a part, 1 through 10 actually, but 1 through 9, but 10 is not, 10 is representative of the element, whereas 1 through 9 plays a part in each of the minor arcana. And you blend it with it. And that's what you're doing when you're dealing with the tarot. You're not getting rid of anything because it's not a major arcana card. That don't mean that you're getting rid of the major arcana. You seeing what number is it vibrating on? Because just like the higher octave of A is still that same note, it's just existing on a different level. So it is with a decay. That means that we have 9 root numbers, and when you go beyond that, you can add the answer together, and when you add the answer together and get to a single digit, then you will see what that is the decay of, what that is a higher level of. Just by adding it together. And so our cards today was number 5, the Hierophant, and number 14. Why number 5 and number 14? When you add 1 and 4 together, you get 5. When you subtract 5 from 14, that's 9. However you choose to do that math, it's going to still work out because that's the next decay. Or if you was in music, that's the next octave, meaning that it's vibrating on the same root tone, but it's adding this little sauce to it. They are related, but they are not the same, but the root comes from a definite source. And so 2 plus 1 plus 6, you just keep adding it together. I don't care if it was 2,116,000. That has a root number. And you add it together until first you can find the key of the number, which the key is going to be the first thing that you look at inside of that name. You're looking at the key first. Make no mistake about it. And then after the key, if the key is over 9, then you can look at the root as something else to give you information about that. But the key is what you're looking at most significantly. But you're looking at both of them. And sometimes they're both the same. So we add all of these numbers for the names together. That gives us 216. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. And that's the number of the name. Number 9. That's the number of the full name, number 9. So number 9 represents, it's not only, now if it was number 10, then it would have been, the key number would have been 10, and the root number would have been 1, because 1 plus 0 equals 1. So the key number and the root number would have been two different things. And I would look at number 10 first, and I would consider number 1. But both of these came up to 9. So now, but you're not finished yet. It's something else that you could do, because our system allows you to do that. What you do after that is you go and see, okay, what does it look like in my chart? Where's my name at in my chart? First of all, what color does my name represent? Go up to 9. Number 9 represents the lighter colors of blue, which happens to be one of my favorite colors. But what is it doing inside of the chart? Does it tell me anything about myself? Well, let's see. It represents Aquarius. Where's Aquarius in my chart? The first house. What do I have there? Jupiter. What do I have there? The moon. And if it was any more significance to it, when we go and look at the actual chart and view the system of astrodynes that we have in the Church of Light, then you can see what your most harmonious planet is, what your most harmonious sign is, meaning what's your best sign, what's your best planet. Best planet, Jupiter. Best sign, Aquarius. Again, what does the name add up to? Aquarius. And what I can guarantee you is when you do the math on yours, you will find something, and you will see it inside of your chart. If you got the accurate chart, you will see it inside of your chart, and you will be like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And so there we had it. And I know I said a lot, and we usually wait to the end. We usually wait to the end for the questions, but I'm going to ask at this time, do anyone have any questions on these numbers that you don't get? Because this is something we could deal with right now.
I have a question.
Okay.
For Rihanna kind of answered it, but for married women, since that was not our name given at birth, do we use maiden or married name?
Whatever your legal name is,
Yeah,
that's probably going to be your most dominant one. But then again, I think that you would have to look at that. Don't discard neither one of them.
sure.
Because your marriage, it may mean something different to you than somebody else's marriage means to them, you know, and so the name may be more dominant to you than it may be to them, or vice versa, you know.
Okay.
But the best way is to look at both of them. The rule of thumb is whatever the legal name is, whatever you're commonly called, because you can
Okay.
even see the vibration from the nicknames. You know,
Okay.
the nicknames have a vibration, and you can see how they play inside of your chart, and you can see the difference. Okay, the numbers for my maiden name add up to this, and this is where that's at in my chart. But the number for my marriage name add up to something different, and look and see where the planet's at, and see, do you see a significant difference between the things ruled and the areas of life ruled by those things in your chart from before you got married to after you got married?
Okay.
So it's a
My
personal study.
right. I came up with a 12, which is Pisces, and I have no Pisces in my chart. That's why I asked.
Well, everybody you have all 12 signs in your chart.
Well, it's very weak, so maybe I
Well,
need to.
it may be, but just because it don't have planets in it, don't necessarily mean that it's weak. You have to
Okay.
look and see what the astrodines say. And that's the
Oh,
big difference from the system that we use. You know, just because there's no planets there, don't mean that it's weak. Then you seeing what the ruler of that house is doing,
okay.
and
Excellent.
that might end up being one of the strongest, or the ruler of that house. If the ruler of the house is one of the strongest planets in your chart, you know, then that house is going to take a great deal of that strength from the ruler.
Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
I'd like to ask another question similar to hers, though. How about if you don't have no name, and now you have a name?
What you mean if you don't have no name?
You
If
was
your name
born
was
with no,
John
you
Doe?
was no, not even John Doe, male. Let's say it was male and the last name. You was never given a first name.
I would go from the time that you have a name, you know. It's from the period that you have a name, what you are
Okay.
associated by, because remember, it's not verbiage, it's thought.
Right.
You know, what
And thought is energy and frequency.
exactly.
But Aurelio, wouldn't the last name have an influence as well? And then when given the surname has an influence as well. And then when given a first name, that would just add to the depth of the person.
Yeah, but we got to remember that's true, but we have to remember a big part is how just how much associated is that name with the individual.
Mm.
You know, if a person have a name and don't nobody know the name, or it's not associated with that person, then it has a different thing. Like if you add something to it, it modifies it. But to see just how much, you will have to do the math and look at the chart. There's no other way around it. You have to look at the chart. And then, boy, if we was able to go through the numerology and see how you could go through each one of these cards, but we just don't have time. All right, so any more questions on that?
Aurelio, I just wanted to tell you that I just did my birth name and mine was 216 as well.
Was it? See,
Yeah.
I knew we had something going on right here.
That's
Now the
awesome.
thing is-
So
now the
thanks
thing
for doing
is-
all the math for me there.
Now the thing is, where is it inside of your chart? You know, that's what you have to look at now.
Yeah.
Then when you look at where it is inside of your chart, then you're looking at, okay, you know, what kind of aspects is it making? You know,
Yeah, like Heather's, I don't have a lot of Aquarius. I'm gonna have to look at the astrodynes, like you said.
and then some of the times, if you're trying to, through the process of alchemy, if you're trying to attract a certain energy into your life, sometimes people modify the spelling of their name. That's what Zane did. He modified the spelling, put it at the name that he became most associated with. He's most so you don't just discard Albert Benjamin, but he's most associated with us by CC Zane. And CC Zane has a vibration. It has a particular vibration. Come on, Ninti.
Yes, I have a whole book of correspondences and what do you call it? An encyclopedia of numbers, but the totals are different. So can I trust, you know, the number system that they're coming in? So if I look at 216 right now, it's going to give me a meaning for 216, but the value of the numbers is different than the Church of Light systems. So is there still value in this book, or would I have to go
It's
redo
like
the numbers?
it's like if you have one car that take unleaded fuel and you have another car that take diesel. You know, both of those cars work, but put some diesel in that unleaded in that car that take unleaded fuel if you want to, and you gonna figure out why you ain't going nowhere or why your engine messed up. You know, two different systems. You know, if you're using a name, you can't go by the other book and use the values for those names because we dealing with 22 right here.
Okay.
You can compare them, you know, but it's two different systems. Two different systems doesn't mean that car with unleaded fuel is still gonna drive. That car with diesel fuel is still gonna drive. You're gonna get some more miles on it, you know, and be able to pull a little more stuff, but they still drive, but they're different vehicles.
So just don't try to mix the two. Just
No.
your lane.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
You can compare them for your own, you know, for your own, you know, appeasement, but don't mix them. Okay. We're gonna go on a 5-minute break, and when we come back, it's spread time. Okay, so we are back at it, and we are going to jump right into the next segment. We already took care of the question, so we should be good on that. All right, so and I wasn't intending on doing a lecture this week, but we had to really get over the number of things, and I'm quite sure as you go on, you'll appreciate that we did touch on the numbers. Next week is for pretty much the whole time. Just be prepared to do spreads inside of your groups as well as inside of the whole body, and not just the methods of the spread. We're going inside of your small groups, be prepared to do some actual readings. And inside of the big groups, we're doing the spreads as well. Pick somebody to represent you from your group so we don't be on dead time. Okay, so right now, what we are going to is we got some hands up. All right, right now what we're going to is the wish spread. Okay. All right, so the wish spread. Now this goes to a question that somebody asked us way back in either week 1 or week 2. I got it narrowed down to 2 people, but I don't want to say the wrong name. But it was actually 2 questions. One was about the direction that we do the spreads, and do we have to do them? You know, do we have to do them according to the way that the book says, or can we do them our own way if we used to going a certain way? And what I said then was the spreads, follow the spreads to the letter, because all of the spreads are not the same. The methodology, if you're just starting off, you know, it is best if you can to go with the Church of Light system. But if you just been doing it so long and you got a certain methodology, you know, your methodology is what's going to work for you. That's the relationship that's already been established. You know, that's the rapport that's already been established between your conscious and your unconscious mind. But this is one of the examples of the spread. So usually you see that we go from right to left. But inside of the wish spread, you will see that, well, first of all, and I didn't want to read everything off, but you have the wish spread and you have it on a book. And even if you didn't have the book, you have it online. If you need help finding it, we have no problem showing you that. But what you do different with the wish spread is you would actually, instead of shuffling all of the cards first, you can shuffle them if you want to, but what you're going to do with the cards is fan them out. You know, fan them out is just another way of saying spread them out. And before you do that, first of all, with the wish card, you want to pick a card that represents either the person that you're doing the spread for or the subject matter of that wish, or you know, what is being wished for. You know, you want to choose one of those. Oftentimes it's better to use a court card if you're trying to represent a person, or one of the arcanans or something like that, but a court card. But it's your choice, it's your spread. After you get that card, you would put that card face up, because that's not a card that you just randomly picking. You actually thinking, what does this subject matter represent? Or what card represents this person that I'm doing this spread for? You know, you actually thinking that out. And whichever one fits that, then that's the card that you're using. After that, you spreading the card, you fanning the cards out. When you fanning them out, you randomly going through, you know, with your left hand is better. Why? Left hand is receptive. Right hand is masculine. Left hand is feminine. Left hand is receptive. That's why a lot of people using their left hand. So you spread them out. You randomly pulling the 15 card. The same thing. You know, you still want to keep in mind, you know, the subject matter that you're about to do the spread for, because all of this, you making sure that your mind and everything is where it's supposed to be, so you can make that report. After you pull those 15 cards, now you push all the other cards to this. Don't push them on the floor or nothing like that. Just put them neatly together. Sit those to the side. Then you take those 15 cards, and just like you had the whole deck of 78, you shuffle them the normal way that you would do if you was using the whole deck. Shuffle them three times, cut, shuffle them, cut, shuffle them, cut, and then you put them face down in the order that they go. Unlike the other system, the other spreads that we do that go from right to left, this one, you starting off on the left side, and you're not starting on the outside, you starting on the inside left. So you going 1, 2, 3, then you going at the top, 4, 5, 6, then you going at the right across from this one, across, a straight line across, and I'm saying that for a reason. A straight line across, what's on the opposite side, what we call an opposition, 7, 8, 9. And then at the bottom, 10, 11, 12, then 13, 14, and 15. This was the card that represented the spread that I was doing in this wish spread. It represented the person. Like if you're dealing with the queens, then if you turn the queen upside down, then that's going to represent a male. If you turn a king upside down, that's going to represent a female. But this, for me, this is a female Aquarius. Number 1, the first card on here, make this larger. This is the environment. This side right here is explaining the environment. This is what's surrounding the situation. This is what's surrounding what's being wished for. I'm wishing for a brand new Cadillac. And this is what's surrounding that right here. What's surrounding it, we starting off is, well, got some abundance of wealth going on. So I might be getting that Cadillac, you know. So we starting off with 5. All 3 of these cards represent what's surrounding it, the situation that's surrounding it. So we have a 5 of coins. We have a 9 a 9 of swords. I done lost what? I had a sudden loss of employment. But then we had a 9 of cups, right? And this is the order. So you got 3 different cards that represent 3 different things, you know, and 3 different things took place. But here's another question that somebody asked. Somebody asked the question when we was doing the yes or no's. They said, well, if you pull the wish card, which is the 9 of cups, the 9 of cups is the wish card. They said, if you pull a wish card, does that mean that the answer is automatically yes? And we said no at that time. The only spread that the wish card absolutely means yes is in a wish spread, except for if it's in opposition to what the wish is, which is these cards over here. So just off of this, you would still read it because you want to see how this whole thing is going to play off. But because you have the wish card, if the wish card appears anywhere inside of the wish spread, then the answer should be yes, except for if it appears over here. 7, 8, 9. All right. So at the top, this is what is being hoped for. You know, going over here. And then this is what opposes the situation. This is the opposition. This is what's going to make the wish difficult. And just because the wish card promises that the wish is going to come to pass, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be a process to it. And so this is going to explain what the opposition, what the challenges are going to be inside of that process. And then right here, you have what is about the situation. And then right here, up here, I think I said it. I hope I did. This is what is hoped for at the top. And then the final one is, this is the realization. This is how it's going to play out. Now, how is it going to play out with that $1 million? Well, first of all, since we know the wish is going to come to pass, first of all, there's going to be some news, you know, and the news is going to be dealing with some type of something dealing with the organization probably that the money is going to come from, or it's going to be, oh no, I ain't say the million, I said a Cadillac, you know. So it's going to be dealing with some structure, you know, but it may be some type of restriction, but it's going to be a news. Why is it going to be news? Because that's number one. Number one is an extension of the first major arcana. And the first major arcana is Mercury, and Mercury is always news or communication. What is the news about? News is about something material, something physical, right? Could be sickness, could be death, as the cards say, or it could be something else that's restrictive, you know, something of a Capricornian type of energy. And then what comes after that? Whoa, what do we have again? Number one, something else that I wanted to mention. Whenever you get to seeing more than one number, is when you get to see a number repeat itself, or kings or queen court cards, whenever you get to seeing something repeat itself, even if it's in different elements, take note of it, because you're getting a message from there. Take note of it, set that aside, take note of it, but set it aside. And so you have 2 ones there. That's in the realization point. That's representative of the wheel, right? So based off of this news, the wheel is exercised. So this news about some material thing, some type of death or something that was discontinued, that's going to activate the wheel. And that made me stand up. Remember, we standing up at active volition. One hand pointed to the stars and the other hand pointed to the earth, where we using our heavenly powers to manifest on this physical realm and to rule the things on this physical realm. So number one, you have that. And then the final part in the realization is a horseman card. And it's a horseman of wands. And so it's dealing with business. You know. But we already saw that the 9 said that it was going to come to pass. And that's the wish spread. Well, we already did the breakout. So if you want, you can go back to the groups for, we'll say 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and close this out. Go to the group of your sun sign and politic. Maybe somebody do an actual spread, preferably a wish spread. I want to thank everybody for a great meeting. And at this point, we will officially close with the closing ritual. So I ask everyone to mute your microphones, please.